we have here today my albums of the year so far for 2022. We do this every year. You should have expected it. You should have known it was coming. And this time around, it's no different. I'm going to start off with the FKA Twigs CAPRISONGS joint. Y'all know how much I love this record when it first came out, when it first released. Oh yeah, my bad. I'm sorry, I don't have any manners. Please let me know what records and what albums you've been hailing as your favorite for the year 2022 so far. But me personally, since I'm the one that's making the video, I don't really give a f what you got in your top 10 this year, because it's all about me and what I have to say. So CAPRISONGS from FKA Twigs is a perfect follow-up to the Mary Magdalene record that she dropped back in 2019. This record is far more vibrant, it's far more energetic. She really got better, and not in terms of her artistry, but just in terms of how it was that she was portraying herself. I love when you can tell artistically that an artist is in a different space, and it's very clear that she's doing much better now. I love that for her, and you can tell in the music. I've never been so excited to be a background singer in my life. Next, we got the Weeknd's Dawn FM record. This is definitely a much more mature Abel. We're getting a lot more content about the consequences of the toxic life that he's lived up until this point, and it seems as though he's finally dealing with the consequences of it on this record by losing the one that he claims he loves. That and possibly losing himself in the process. I like listening to this record because it's one of those albums that you have to listen to almost all the way through, or else it doesn't work as well. It's definitely one of those records that you need to experience as an entire album. It's much more flawed when you start picking apart which songs that you like best. BabyFace Ray with this Face album. BabyFace Ray has been dominating over the last few months. Okay, I love this record. Let's not just talk about this record though, let's also talk about the feature run that he's been on. Okay, every record damn near that he's been a part of, that he's been featured on, he has dominated, he has floated on, he has sounded extremely charismatic despite being ridiculously laid back. This album, more specifically, tracks like 6 Mile Show with Eyez Vezo, he still is not trailing far behind Vezo in the entertainment department. And a money counter still ain't fast as me is one of the best bars I've heard this year. And even though BabyFace Ray's persona is kind of drenched in being laid back and not really being in the mix too much, he definitely feels a lot more focused on this record than he has on his previous output. I have not seen BabyFace Ray create songs that are so much more structured and have a lot more hooks that you can revisit, sounding really clean and polished. And I love seeing artists mature over time, so one of the best things about this record is how he balances the fast life with a bit of an idea of what could be coming his way. One of my favorite things about Ray's music is really just how real it is. And I know that could be vague, but I mean how drenched in reality he, along with plenty of Michigan rappers generally are. They never allow themselves to fall too deeply into the world that they fantasize about. It's always accompanied with a reality check. EARL SWEATSHIRT dropped a record this year as well, titled Sick. I really thought it was short, sweet, and to the point. I don't think it was enough for most people to chew on, but it definitely gave me exactly what I needed. And keeping in mind that I didn't even really know the record was coming out, scratched a lot of itches that I didn't expect EARL to be able to reach on me this year. That sounds crazy. He's another artist that I can tell has gotten much better from the previous record that he's released. He seems a lot sharper here. Doesn't seem like he's in that same space, like in the mud, in the muck, in the grime. Definitely feels like he's in a much more positive, much more fresh and new atmosphere. Benny the Butcher with TANA Talk 4 is probably one of the sharpest records that has released this year in terms of just pure rap albums. Instrumentally, this thing is on point. Alchemist absolutely dominates. When Derringer shows up, he dominates. And I need to say, out of records that came out this year, ones that I can listen to almost front to back with 0 skips is impressive. I never thought that Benny would come this strong lyrically, even though he is giving us a general sense of what he's always given us with the street rap, with the coke rap, with the drug dealing and the past behaviors and the almost old head uncle rap. It's just rap that you don't mind sitting in the passenger seat listening to your old head ramble for hours and hours on end.
When you talking most authentic, then who gon' fit in my shoes? I'm living my truth. Sky is the only limit I knew.
The next artist I'm about to mention is probably my favorite rapper from Detroit. just in general. Boldy James, y'all all know how much I love this man and his records. Super Techmo Bo. I wanted to shout that one out because it came out at the end of 2021. It was almost a 2022 contender, and I'm going to include it in the list anyway because it came out after I made my list. I just know that I had made my list and I hadn't listened to it yet, so I'm still going to include it in 2022 because it's fair game. You cannot stop me. I'm doing it. Techmo Bo is just Alchemist and Boldy James perfectly in sync. Perfectly in sync. I don't think I've seen a better duo or heard a better duo in hip-hop than these two. Just extremely authentic. Boldy's rapping is crazy. Every record on this album was phenomenal. And if you thought that he was just relying on the Alchemist's production, you'd be wrong because he dropped another record this year in 2022. Dick suck me now if you want to, but you can't because this record actually came out this year with him and Real Bad Man. While there are a few records off this album that are a little shoddy, that sound a little bit like they would fit in a 1960s Batman cartoon, the majority of the content off of this record is almost out of an old Western where Boldy James is literally the only cowboy in sight, and it is phenomenal. Next has got to be Denzel Curry's Melt My Eyes, See My Future record. This was a very, very mature record for Denzel Curry. A lot of growth from him, from Taboo. And even though this record didn't make as much noise as Taboo did, it's very clear that Denzel Curry went through a lot of turbulence from that record into this one. Took care of himself and addressed a lot of his own traumas. I think this record was really mature, really thoughtful, incredibly brave, and I can't do nothing but respect and love Denzel Curry for allowing us into his perspective, into his mind. This is the best hyper pop rap album I've heard just in a long time. Like, this shit from Funeral is phenomenal. This is probably like this, it crept up on me in a way that I didn't expect. So when I first heard this, right, I listened to it and I was like, these first 3 tracks hard. And I don't remember where I was when I found this record, but I remember listening to the first 3 tracks and I was like, damn, I didn't even know it could, what is this? Like, how is it hitting me this hard? And then I kind of had like a fall off, right? Week later, I came back to the album and then I listened to the whole thing. And then the next 3 tracks became my new favorite. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Like, am I a different nigga this time? Or is it just that the songs got updated? Like, what happened? Boom, fast forward next week. The next 3 songs is my next favorite. And then I'm listening to the whole album as one complete body, and all of it is just hit after hit after hit. Every record. It was the best hyperpop rapper just in general. I like it. It just is what it is. I don't care. Argue with your mom. She did.
His head cut off from a seat and a beast cause I run for my dogs.
It also reminds me of Ken Carson in a couple of instances, but it definitely came into its own. Even more impressive is he's independent, so you know it's just constant W's across the board. I would definitely recommend it. It took me about a week to really get into this Westside Boogie record. I mean, I liked it off first listen, don't get me wrong, but the more and more I listened to it, I never really found a record to just vibe to. And I know plenty of Boogie's audience was telling me that was the basically experience they had with his last record. But I definitely got that experience with this one. Not only is it a vibe, but it's also really good when you look at it from a realistic point of view. Boogie's putting himself in a position where he can be dissected as a person, just not unrealistically. Multiple times on this record, there's a situation that occurs where he's basically looked at from one point of view by a particular person, made to feel like that is who he is as an entity, as a complete person, as a whole. And on this record, Boogie is kind of insinuating that he's more than that. Despite being multiple things, Boogie is still incredibly self-aware, which makes this project a lot more refreshing to listen to as he calls out certain rappers for believing their own hype on multiple tracks on this album. And on this record, Boogie is really creating a safe space to embrace every part of your being without rejecting it, without feeling guilty for it. Even though I'm not a big fan of Boogie singing, I think his singing has gotten better. All of it happens over some really beautiful instrumentation, so I gotta give this one a big thumbs up. You thought I forgot about I Never Liked You, didn't you? I didn't forget. The thing that makes me love Future so much on this record isn't necessarily what he says, it's generally how he says it. Puffin' on Zooty, 712, Holy Ghost, Chickens, I'm on One. I mean, he's got a record for damn near everything that I've done this year. He's just stood up to my tests. Future with this album, for me personally, shows that he's still the captain of the ship, still steering the boat and still dropping hits. I do got a few more records that didn't really make this list. We're only halfway through the year. One last one that I wanted to talk about was the new Deuce album. I literally just listened to this record last week, didn't even know it came out, and it is easily probably my favorite record this year. This is everything that I would have wanted from Trippie Redd, a Rod Wave, vocally, and putting it into a record, expounding upon it, adding a little Memphis rap in with some hype shit from the SoundCloud era on tracks like Rage. And you got a perfect hype album. You just do. Tracklist, Crunkstar, I Ain't Worried About It, Hell Nah, Falling Off with Rico Nasty is a ridiculous song with a beautiful guitar. Just Say That featuring Glorilla, fuck. I'm Alive Again.
Not the same I was before, now my heart done turned to gold. No, I've been here once before.
Even if you're not a fan of the album, which, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're gonna have some tracks that you take off of this record that you play for the entire year, I guarantee it. I wanted to wait to do this video until the new Brent Faiyaz and Giveon records drop, but thought they'd be out by now and they're not, so fuck it. Y'all let me know what your favorite albums of the year for 2022 have been so far, and until next time, I will see you and stay beautiful.
I mean, this a Miller. VVS is this bitch stupid. The message should kill your jewelry.